This week marks the 10th anniversary when most of the Bever family was found murdered in their South Broken Arrow home. You may have seen my coverage of murder on Magnolia Court earlier this week. Joining me in studio today to speak unedited is Broken Arrow Police Chief Lance Arnold. In addition to some other topics, I wanted to get his thoughts on some people asking he and his officers to prevent a crime that is very hard to prevent in the first place, families killing each other. Joining me today to speak unedited is Broken Arrow Police Chief Lance Arnold. Thanks for coming back. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Rick.
Before we get started on the main topic I asked you to come into, there is an OHP transition. I know your city is not impacted by it, and you really just have the BA and the Turnpike. What are your thoughts on this transition, being next door to Tulsa that is making this transition?
Yeah, absolutely. And I certainly have reached out to, Tulsa Police Department's command staff to get their thoughts, their concerns, and we share some of the same concerns that they have. It certainly is a change for us, and the metro areas are your population centers, and so we gladly accept all of the help that we can get from the state and from our regional and local partners, and I do think that it's something that we're going to have to look at from a data perspective. I know what the Highway Patrol is trying to do, and I certainly do understand the reasons why there are concerns there, but I also can't help but think just the population centers and that level of population would benefit from having more highway enforcement. That continues to be a concern throughout the metropolitan area. So I think where it does cross over into Broken Arrow is if you've got less enforcement on the highways, and then as they get on the expressway, which we've always worked those crashes on the expressway, and we're still going to have troopers on the Creek Turnpike, but are they going to be used to that speed, and is it going to carry over into the surrounding areas as well?
My concern that I wanted to ask you about, let's say a police chase now starts in Tulsa. Does that now fall on you to pick up, or
yeah, we work really well with all of our regional police partners, but it certainly has. I can tell you, in most of those circumstances, it's very likely that you're going to get involvement from the Highway Patrol as well. And we welcome that involvement. And with them being kind of redeployed, if you will, to some of the more rural parts of the state, are we going to have that help right there? But it helps clean it up, especially as you cross. You mentioned those jurisdictional boundaries, right? And so to have that state law enforcement agency nearby to really lend a hand, and to also be able to, their communication system is statewide, their resources are statewide, and so it does look like there could be definitely more impact than just we're talking about working crashes, but I think the impact could be far greater than that.
One of the reasons I'm glad you came this week is it is the 10th anniversary of the Bever murders. Obviously, that has been surpassed by other unfortunate murder-suicides, but I was talking to your guys, and I've even heard this for years, is people will ask you, why aren't you preventing this crime?
Right.
And I'm thinking, how do you? What do you say to folks who say, why is this still happening, and how do you stop this?
Yeah, I think, first of all, I want to say, Rick, I appreciate the story that you did and really spending the time with our people. I thought it was an outstanding kind of reminder that, these things can happen anywhere. They're a shock to the system because those things you don't think should happen in Broken Arrow or Owasso recently, right? And so when you see those things, that's what shocks the system, and you want to just reach out and say, how can we stop this from happening? I think collectively we're much better off from a mental health standpoint in the community. Our department offers a co-responder program, and so we have licensed mental health professionals that ride with our specifically trained police officers that are certainly doing much more than we ever have when we're interacting with people, and even finding the nexus to mental health, even if we're not there for a specific mental health call. But at the end of the day, it really takes a village of people that not all of them have signs and symptoms leading up to them, but there are times where if you see something, say something. If something just seems a little out of whack or whatever with a neighbor or with anything that's going on with children, especially that maybe your children interact with, then those are things that we want to know. And we're not going to go in and be accusatory, but we have the resources in place now really to try to get people help that they need. The one thing that we know for sure is that a lot of these don't always have a criminal element, or we've not responded to them before, but we can certainly guess that most of them have some type of mental health element to them, right? You mentioned, and I know in the story you did with the Bever incident, sometimes it may be just pure evil, But a lot of these other instances, there are some signs there of some mental health decline or some issues that we really have the resources in place now. We've partnered with Cree Oaks, and we have a facility that's opening brand new in Broken Arrow in the fall that is going to be really a one-of-a-kind facility. It'll be the first one actually in Broken Arrow, so that we have those resources right in our own backyard for both juveniles and for adults.
Is it surprising? Because I know when I'm on scene and I ask y'all, have you ever been to this house before? And the answer is no. And now you've got a family that's dead. That's a shock.
It is. It's a shock to your entire community.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, I think, it sends a ripple effect for people that didn't even know the victims or know the family. Just the thought that it could happen even in the area, even if people that don't live in Broken Arrow, but they just know that how high the quality of life is and how safe Broken Arrow is. And it's a shock to the system. And so we are looking, everybody wants answers. They want answers of how do we keep these kinds of things from happening. And I think the other piece of that is that, especially when they involve children, those are some of the most horrendous things that not only our people deal with, but then just as society, right, that we see. And I can see where people get frustrated and angry, and they just want answers. They want to know, how do we prevent these things from happening in the future? While
we're talking about kids, let's get to something happy. You've got Back to School Bash almost a week from now.
Yes, August 2nd, yeah. So we've got Back to School Bash August 2nd at the Assembly, 3500 West New Orleans. Free haircuts, immunizations, backpacks. We'll have over 150 vendors there. It's going to be a great event from 9 to noon. That's on a Saturday, August 2nd at the Assembly on West New Orleans. I'm always shocked at a city your size, this many volunteer groups. It's really impressive. Yeah, it is. And it just speaks to, what we have going in Broken Arrow, that certainly we have people that are engaged in our community, they're involved, and they want to help in every way that they can. Chiefs, thank you so much for stopping by. Always
I appreciate
a pleasure,
it.
Rick.
Thank you.